Unlock your potential with a comprehensive suite of investing tools and expert education with GammaEdge. Start your free 14-day trial today with the SPX, SPY, NDX. And what you'll see is that on 9/15, we had correlation across the markets where they all changed in what we call their delta dominance. They all change to a common state, whether that's green or yellows or reds or oranges. Keep your eye out. But I mean, you can look back and you can see just from over here on the left-hand side where it was green, and now you can see, of course, it's red. It's no surprise to anyone. I think this is an incredibly powerful visualization. There's a couple of things that Dan does here, and I would urge everyone to go read his channel that he has where he documents his trades and his thought processes, especially around GEX, gamma exposure. We have a GEX ratio, and that's what this number is right here. And we don't have the charts. Dan hasn't done the ones for today. When he gets time, he'll do the 27th. But the takeaway is that, you see a dip in the GEX ratio. Let me make this bigger so you guys can see it, maybe. You can see a dip in the GEX ratio, right? So you're pushing some numbers that are almost at unity. So short-dated calls, short-dated puts ratio. And then as deltas collapse, you get more and more on the put side. And this is what when we talk about the planes and we talk about that, this is a clear demarcation that the market is changing, right? When you see this kind of transition. Now, normally they go from, as you can see, they go from red through some intermediate color over to green, and then green, some intermediate color over to red. These mean something. When you run the net del chart, the NDEL, $NDEL, you see it says out of the money puts, or in the money puts, or out of the money calls, or in the money calls. And if they're in the money, they're yellow. That's kind of a pair of twos. You're kind of locked in. No one's, kind of a standoff there. If they're orange, they're out of the money. And what that means is that there is no real decisive battle being won right there. It can go either way. So the orange ones to me are interesting, and I always pay attention to the orange ones because those are weaker. And, those are the speculators, and the speculators are playing both sides of the table, and that's really what I wanted to say here. So when you look at Dan's mapping of things, you can see attempts to change the regime of a given stock or ETF or whatever the case. And by tracking that and looking at the GEX ratio, you can get a real good sense of what's happening. And I don't know if Dan's done any further analysis. I have. I've looked at GEX ratio and the delta shading or the delta dominance, and we can have an extended lower period of lower GEX ratio, and until you start seeing that transition back to orange and then back into green, that appears to be the tell. We talked a little bit about this earlier this week on I think it was Sunday's open mic, that IWM for 2 months was pushing between maybe 0.4 and 0.7, right? Which is kind of that opportunistic area that you'd want to get into. But obviously, if you got into it, you just get slammed because it was just constantly being rotated. Short-dated calls were being rotated out, short-dated puts were being rotated out, and it kept the bias on the put side of the equation below 1. But the deltas add some information in there, and so I just want to highlight for folks, XLE energy, C is I think consumer, staples, XLP looks like it's rearing its head, XOP is the exploration. So you can see a theme here between XLE, which is largely XOM, and Chevron, CVX. I think they comprise 42 or 45% of the XLE. And then XOP has got all I think it's got, like Schlumberger and Baker Hughes and all those folks in it. So go take a look at those, and you can see who's starting to win the battles here. So that's all I'll say about this, but absolutely brilliant work. The visualization, I hope this is just like jumping off the page at you. And this is not an intraday thing. And we have no intention of, calculating this constantly. throughout the day. You can run the $NDEL or $NCharm or $NGAM, and you can get these run instantly for you. Those are live calculations. But to get a whole chart like this instantly every day would be, in real time would be pretty arduous.